Hey, everybody. It's Nate Therian. Welcome to Nate's Pop-Up Podcast. We're coming at you from the beautiful Venture Cafe deck. And, man, it is gorgeous outside. It's Thursday. If you can get down here, get down here. It's, it's gorgeous. Today, I'm here with Andrew Chang of American Data Science. American Data Science, Andrew, rather than me talk about what it is the company does, make your intro, give them your best 2-minute elevator pitch. You're on. Go.
Yeah, hey, nice to see everyone or meet everyone. So yeah, I'm the CEO and founder of American Data Science, and we're an AI startup focusing on building out an AI platform for data scientists and researchers. Really, one big tagline we've been working on is the cursor for data scientists and researchers. So we've got a product that can let you spin up servers, GPU servers, and notebook servers, and have an AI IDE that just lets you zoom through data analysis, data engineering workflows, and whatnot. And yeah, that kind of sums up what we're working on.
So how long, AI, there's been, clearly a lot of activity in that space. Let me ask, just because I am morbidly curious about someone who's coming from that area right now, which you are. Are you finding the AI space in general to get crowded? Is there a lot of noise, or is it just me?
There's a lot of noise. You get this with any industry that gets and generates a lot of hype from some specific news, right? Like Web3 with crypto to AI with ChatGPT. I will say it's pretty difficult to sift through due to the sheer size of all the noise, the variables, the people talking about AI, LLMs, but it's not. I would say it's not too difficult to spend some time to really, find out what is actually happening. You always talk about like research, like do your research, like right, Google it. But honestly, if you talk to enough people in any AI community that's pretty consistent, you can really cut through what AI today really means, what LLMs are, what these things that are automating everything in the industry, like what they can do, what their limitations are. So I'd say yes, it's a little morbid in terms of the sheer number of people talking about it, getting into it. But in my opinion, like it's kind of a good thing. I've been in the AI field for a while, so in my opinion, I want people to get interested. I want things to move, even for the sake of that morbid sheer number of people getting into it. So that's how I'm seeing it.
So just where you're coming from, because of what you're developing, I guess one thing I wanted to ask, and I asked this of anyone that I talk to that has their own startup, because you're coming at this, it seems, from the standpoint of a scientific, almost like a scientific bent, a scientific community, I hate to use the word angle, but I'm going to use it anyway. An angle for builders and developers and things of that nature. Would that be about right?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So what is your why? What problem did you decide to solve? Where did it come from where you decided, okay, I see a problem here. There's a problem I think that I can solve by building this product. Yeah. And there must have been a tipping point where you said, what the heck with it? I'm starting this thing. I see a problem I can solve.
Yeah.
What was that problem? What drove you to start the company?
Yes, specifically the company, and this will probably go a little bit more into our backstory, but keeping it short, I just wanted it to be easier to run code on GPUs. So basically, referring to Python code, if we get a little more specific. But it was just, kind of difficult to run things in parallel processes programmatically on GPU servers. And these are, this is the tech, this is the tooling and software that powers ChatGPT, right? LLMs, parallelization with GPUs. And, I'd say nearly my whole professional life struggle was just getting that to work, right? Like, and getting it to work for other people, right? Professionally, just code on GPUs, not like driver level, but actual application level, so people can actually take advantage of powerful parallel compute. So that's kind of like the nerdy scientific background of and short background of why I started the company. It's a little off topic, but we'll probably get a little bit into that with my background. So like I was working with machine learning and deep learning since I was in school, like 2015, 2016, which was when I had my first like ML engineering internship. And back then, people didn't even know what machine learning was, right? They'd be like, what the heck is that?
It's crazy to think. Yeah, 2015 and 2016 is like machine learning. What?
Yeah. I remember I was taking like a graduate class in ML, and it wasn't a big deal. My friend actually got me to do it with him. And when I joined, it was like, there were like maybe like 50 to 100 people in the class. The very next, I want to say semester, not even year, there was like a 500 person wait list for that class. So that's like, that kind of goes into how much that hype for machine learning, applying this predictive analytics tech with, deep learning with neural networks. Kind of like I saw that in person, kind of shooting off. And on the inside, I was just so impressed on the technical side of things. I was looking into what Google was working on, what back then Facebook was working on in the ML space. A lot of Silicon Valley, they were kind of looking at the ML space, and I was just like, wow, I can see why some of the smartest people in the world are looking at this stuff, because it's just really cool, right? Like you can like scan. Well, it's not impressive now, but like you could look at a picture of a number and say it's this number, right? Like back then, it's like that was really cool, right? And you didn't have to do anything like fancy. You didn't have to do anything like very deterministic and heuristic. You just kind of train this model that can do a lot of these tasks that were originally only doable by humans. And so that was definitely the trigger, right? Like when I was like a student, when I was in academia, I studied mathematics, and I was taking a lot of ML, statistical, computer science courses, and honestly, machine learning, right? Predictive analytics, deep learning, AI was the big, high in the sky, right? Like goal, objective that I wanted to go towards. So I've been, an ML engineer, AI ML software engineer for about 8, coming on 9 years now, I want to say. So that's what really triggered, where I am, starting the startup of where I am now. So hopefully that answers that question.
Well, you know what? That brings us to the next question is, so the company's been around for about 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So at inception, you saw the problem.
Yeah.
Define the problem again. Define the problem in layman's terms for someone who, like me. You can lay it down in something that the average person who doesn't have a whole lot of experience with AI would understand the problem that you're trying to solve. What would it be if you had to put it on a bumper sticker?
Yeah. Just, right out to answer your question, we just want to make it easier to use AI, specifically generative AI, for the data scientist and researcher. Right?
Okay, so
yeah.
so the trigger, the goal,
yeah.
is to make generative AI easier to use for people that are already in the space, for the data scientists and things of that nature.
Yes.
Is that boiling it down to its simplest? That would be the goal of what your company's trying to do.
Yep. And it's why we're going full in on like dev tooling. Tools, for developers. But in my opinion, that's kind of quickly evolving with the ease of use of generalized AI, right? Like, there's like a non-technical person could use these tools to learn how to be technical, but it's not a prerequisite, right? Like they don't need to know how to code. It's just they did know how to code, they'd be able to utilize the developer tool better. But that's kind of like another topic. And yeah, kind of going into it, like there's a little background, when you say like startup's been around for 2 years, that's like an interesting, you can imagine the road we were on for something like that. So,
The start of the company was not the start of the road.
exactly. I'd say so. Going in on what specifically we're building. I've touched on it, but to give a little background, we were originally a GPU provisioning platform. So, right, kind of going back to, I just wanted to get Python working on GPUs, whether it's tools like, it's getting into like PyTorch or JAX, like tensor libraries, but things that can use GPUs. And we were building out the platform. It was very tech focused. It's very like AI ops, DevOps focused. And that was for about a year. And then we kind of had a pivot in like the year and a half moment where we're just kind of trying to figure out like the identity of the startup, trying to almost fit the market, product market fit, right? Like, what are we actually building? What we're building actually useful? And, coming from a tech background, there's a lot of pros and cons to that, because you can quickly get into the weeds of what's happening with the market, especially in the tech market, because you can do so much. But narrowing it down, we've pivoted to essentially that, tagline, like, an AI IDE, an AI editor specifically meant for working with data, right? For a developer tool for the data scientists and researchers, right? Not people who are trying to build full stack software, but the people who, they're brilliant, they know how to code, and they want to use generative AI, but they don't want to build like a full stack app. They're not like a software engineer. They're focusing on data. And I thought there was sort of a need for a tool like that. And, we got really good with working programmatically on our platform with, code, right? With executing code, generating code, executing code, doing everything from data analysis to even like training your own models, like LLM models or LLMs. And that kind of made me think, all right, if we really want to build out a product that we could shoot for the moon, why don't we build something like a cursor for data scientists and researchers? And that's like the short sum up of our journey, if not just in my head, like what I've been thinking for the past 2 years. But a lot's happened.
So I think you might have actually gotten the tagline for the company. The tagline is cursor for data analytics and data analysts.
Yeah.
That's not a bad tagline.
I'll say I didn't coin that term. I was thinking it, right? Like I use Cursor. I've tried Windsurf. I use VS Code Copilot a ton. I use AI tools all the time, and so in a way, it does affect like some design choices, what we're building. So in my head, I was thinking like, yeah, Cursor for data scientists, data analysts, and even researchers. But it wasn't until we were like constantly iterating, and then we showed people, right, data scientists, and even like some semi-technical people, the product, and they're like, oh, it's like a Cursor for data scientists. So I'm like, that's when I was like, okay, what I was thinking may be real, and if someone's called it that, then maybe that's a tagline we can go with. But especially with the virality of Cursor, right, and these like software engineering editors. So I do think we've got that. It's the quickest way to have someone understand, oh, okay, now I know what you're building.
Yeah. Which is always nice. I know the one thing we talked about was the pivot, and we talked a little bit about your go-to-market strategy, especially in this space, which it can be tough to define, very tough to find. And it comes with the pivot that I think you mentioned. The pivot came about like maybe
January of 2025.
All right, so
December,
pretty recently. So about 18 months into the company, you had your pivot. What was your direction before the pivot?
Yeah, so I mean, touching on that original product, which was a GPU provisioning platform, it was we wanted to target the enterprise AI ML infrastructure market. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our demographics would be like higher education, higher academic research, like laboratories, kind of like DeepSeek, like OpenAI, AI 21 labs. And because these are kind of the labs and research facilities that can or want to use GPUs at a level where we can, capitalize on that revenue margin. And we kind of came in almost being like a broker for GPUs, and where we make it easy to spin up, whether it's like containers or VMs for you to run Python code on, which is what powers the training and running of like LLMs today. But in my opinion, like there are much more applications that can take advantage. So basically, we wanted to be that supplier for the compute to that powered ChatGPT, but all things that can take advantage of NVIDIA GPUs, AMD GPUs, and it's a lofty goal. I still have like a passion in that, but that was the previous objective. We didn't completely throw it out. Like we have a pretty nice working platform we can still use GPU servers really easily, and we kind of embedded that in. It's just not really the front runner of what we're building now. So that was the previous direction.
So you get to the GPU provisioning. Yeah. What made you? What was the dawning? The breakout where it's like, okay, we're going to need to pivot. What didn't work with that idea that made you think, yeah, we got to try something else? And why? What was it? Because it wasn't selling? Was it because you didn't have a market fit? Was it because of something else? What made you say, damn, we got to pivot?
I would say it was a little organic. I believe there's a market there, right? You see all the, GPUs are the shovel for the AI mining growth. I think there's a market, TAM, whatever. I think we built something useful and cool. I just think, but one of the big factors for me was, this is straight B2B. We need capital to provide for these enterprises who want to use these tools, because the ones who actually want to take advantage of GPUs they're either like labs who are training their own models, or they're giant industries who want to host their own. And as small startup players, it's unless you find like a silver bullet type product for infra, it's difficult to provide what these customers need. Things like SOC compliance, with things like a certain level of security features that we're almost competing with Google Cloud, AWS, all those cloud providers with. So I'd say I want to believe we have a silver bullet product that just makes it better being cloud agnostic as a provider. But I was just thinking, man, like if we really want to go in on this, we're going to need capital. We're going to have to be able to justify, as a brokerage for GPU compute, especially cloud, your margins are kind of slim. So it's cheap because it's software, but you have to be really good at scaling. You have to be really good at software sales, compute cloud sales. And I was just thinking, you know what? Like I'm an AI ML like builder, right? Like I love using GPUs. I love like the ML ops side of things, but it's just it's difficult to build out a product like this platform with limited resources, or not just limited resources, like a small team. And I did want to take advantage of like the generative AI component of things, right? Like with a GPU provisioning platform, like what can you really do that like catches the eye of like, with generative AI of a user? It's like, not so much. So that kind of, those are like the big problems where I had to take a step back and think, is this really what, like, first of all, we want to do, that we can do with the level of, commitment, funding in the future? And I'd say those were the biggest factors. I say it's organic because we did do, enterprise services consulting, right? Like one way to get people interested in our platform was to like build on it ourselves and show what you can do with these GPUs. And while we're doing that, it was like, man, this is a lot of time, right? We're basically, these contractors, enterprise consulting contractors, building out RAGs, search systems, using AI. So hence, using AI, I was realizing, man, like these are like generative AI, LLMs, like they're tools I've been using and working with for a while now. And not saying like I know the ins and outs of everything, but there's like a certain level of like understanding of applying generative AI into software tools that I was just like, hey, like we're doing a bunch of data science stuff, right? Whether it's workflows or analytics or building out small data apps that I think, we've been able to automate the crap out of with AI. So why don't we build out a tool on the workflow we've been using since we've been seeing it a lot, right? Like data scientists are using ChatGPT to copy and paste code. They're using their CLI to try to use generative AI with their like code interpreters and whatnot. But it's like people are trying things out. We know people want to try out generative AI. We think we know one of the best ways to enable these data developers to use generative AI with their data. And so we were like, okay, that sounds like a product, right? Like a cursor, like an IDE, AI IDE, browser based for data scientists and researchers, right? We're not saying build a full stack app, right? Don't like build it, it's not all static files, right? Like it's, you have notebook servers, you have like DAGs for, in notebook cells with code being executed, right? Like, but we're kind of keeping it very straightforward, keeping it very simple so developers can use it in very powerful ways. So yeah, a bit of a ramble on what we've been thinking, what we've been working on, but yeah, it kind of sums it up.
So let me ask you this, because you mentioned that if you want to get funded, you want to do. So you're 2 years in AI startup. I just like anyone else, I think that's in your shoes. You're on the hunt.
Yeah.
For money. Time to put you on the spot. So I know we gave the 30-second pitch. If you're sitting down with a VC and you had 2 minutes to be able to pitch your company going after the money, and you were able to basically convey your secret sauce in 2 minutes, you have your 2 minutes in front of your VC. Go.
Oh, putting me on the spot. Basically, we're building out developer tools so incredibly brilliant developers, especially focused on data, can expedite, accelerate, just zoom their workflow with generative AI. You see a lot of tools coming out built with generative AI for non-technical demographics, but there's so many people who know how to code. They know how to look at data. They've been trained in the profession for extracting insight out of data tables, spreadsheets, JSON, whatever. We want to build the tools for them to help them accelerate their data science work, their potential research work that can generate millions in revenue, from one person in a specific enterprise industry. So, as a company that's building out these developer tools for AI, we think we're building out the future software tools for data-oriented enterprise software. And in my opinion, you kind of see it with Cursor, you kind of see it with Windsurf, which are IDEs, but you also see it with other tools like Lovable and I want to say like Vercel and Supabase. AI is just moving the needle in so many technical developments and areas. And in my opinion, none of them are really focused on enterprise data. I'd say we're one of the few that's actually tackling this area where, you have someone who's a whiz at looking at data, even without AI. You suddenly enable them with developer tools enhanced with AI that gives them the tooling to use this generative AI, whether it's to generate code or just make decisions in themselves. And we're building out the tool to hand that directly to them. Now you can see how, productive non-technical people can be, but now imagine how productive your technical data scientists, right? Your technical researcher or even engineer can be when they're looking at data with this new set of tools that's just completely enhancing their workflows with generative AI. That's what we're building. And, so funny enough, we're not trying to raise funding now or at the time of this recording.
Mm-hmm.
We're really, in my opinion, we're in uncharted territories. Well, I mean, not just my opinion. I think a lot of people think that with, the speed of development of AI. And in my opinion, I think we have something that can essentially revolutionize the whole, not just data analytics, but data insights in enterprise industry. And I think, if we nudge things in the right direction, I think organically people can kind of see what they can do with the tools that we're building. So kind of we're keeping it lean. We're keeping it very insights heavy on who's responding to what we're building, so we can act fast and make sure that what we're building is actually impactful. Because AI's changed the game for so many things, especially in the past recent years, and it's one of those things where it's not about finding like lightning in a bottle. It's about being proactive and seeing what is actually working with this tool humanity has never had until recently. So that's how I've been thinking about it, and I kind of segued there from if I was talking to a VC, but I mean, I think we got something, and capital would help, but I do think you have to be smart about it, especially in today's climate.
Absolutely. Yeah. As we're so coming up on about the half-hour mark now, so to kind of wrap up the podcast, one thing I always like to do with my guests is two things. Ask them, what can the community at large watching this do for you, and in turn, what you can do for them. So in terms of the first ask, is there anything particular that you're looking for? I know you mentioned, sometimes it's funding, but right now you're not on the hunt. But some people are looking for talent. Some people are looking to hire. Some people are looking for data silos, whatever the case may be. What would be of help to your company at this point in time?
Yeah, honestly, just trying out the product. We're kind of like mid QA and semi-public. We haven't announced anything crazy, but our product is usable. It's accessible. It's available. It's you can sign up right now and use it. It's AI agnostic, right? We have GPT models. We have the Claude models from Anthropic, Google Gemini's models inside. So it's one of those things where try it out. That's the biggest. Even if you're non-technical, try it out, right? It's no different from a workspace on your Windows machine or your MacBook machine. It's just browser based.
So you're looking for beta users.
Yeah.
If you're just pinning it down. Yeah. So with that being said, the kinds of people that you'd be looking for will be data scientists, I assume.
Yes.
Is there a place where, if there's a data scientist watching this right now, is there you'll go to the website? Is there a place where they can apply to become a demo user, whatever the case may be? How would a data scientist who's in your market, who you're looking to try to attract, become a user for your tools? Yeah,
so you can Google American Data Science. You can go to amdatascience.com, amdatascience.com.
So this is AM, the letters AM?
Yep.
amdatascience.com. Just like you'd spell it?
Yep.
amdatascience.com.
Yeah, and we're active in the local Boston community. I don't know if I can promote here, but there's an AI Tinkers event coming up this Monday. We do it every month. There's Venture Cafe. There are a couple other events. Can't list off.
One thing the first time I saw you was at AI Tinkers.
Right.
You are presenting. You're on the on tour, so to speak. What is the next demo event coming up over the next 30 days? Are you demoing anywhere? Are you at any of the upcoming events here in Boston, Cambridge that people will be aware of, or someplace that you may want to give a shout out to where you're going to be demoing the product?
Yeah, I usually demo the product at the AI Tinkers events. So this coming Monday, And so we've got a couple things brewing where we actually want to host a bunch of workshops, kind of a bring your own data type of event thing where, if whatever level of background you have, like we'll be there to just kind of see what we can do with whether it's public data or your own like data that you bring in terms of getting from data to insights, dashboard, whatever. Mm-hmm. And we're not quite there in terms of promoting, but yeah, I mean, those are the big ones. I'd say in terms of specific events, nothing too much lined up other than the various AI events that are happening here. But we're getting there.
We'll put a pin in that.
Yeah, put a pin in that.
So with that being said, what can the community do for you? The follow-up, what could you do for the community at large? For the space, for other AI development, whatever the case may be, What would you be able to offer to the community at large that are watching this right now? Yeah,
we have a lot of resources for, especially for the hobbyist data developer, right? Data scientist, or even researcher. We have GPU compute credits. We have, extra tooling built with AI to enable users. So honestly, everything from free subscriptions to compute credits, we can provide anyone who's interested in using AI in their data workflow with a lot of these resources. That's been part of our QA, like people in my network, in my close circle, but also everyone who I've kind of showed and wants to try out. It's just, hey, yeah, here, try it out, right? Like, it's available. But yeah, if you want to try the latest tech with GPUs, if you want to host your own custom models and just play around with your own data with that, you can let us know and we can just give you the resources or even just help out because we're small.
Nice. Yeah. Well, if you're watching this and you're interested in this, then this is going to be on LinkedIn. This is going to be posted on LinkedIn. You can leave a comment in the comments section. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can leave a comment. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, you can connect with Andrew directly or leave a comment there. But with that, we're coming up on about a half hour. So since we're sitting here at Venture Cafe and it's getting on towards 5 o'clock, I think that the bar's open. So, that's a cue.
Yeah, that's our cue.
I wanted Andrew, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. And for all of you watching, if we don't see you at Venture Cafe over the next few hours, we'll see you for the next podcast. Thanks very much. Bye.